Are you looking to create printables that you can sell online? Listen, it's no secret that people are more and more moving towards doing things as digitally as possible, and that includes purchasing things online that they can then print out on their own. This increased demand for printable products means an increased need for sellers to meet that demand, which means now is a great time for you to jump in and start selling printables. There are tons of different kinds of these types of products, everything from printable invitations to printable wall art to party decor and so much more. So in this video, I'm walking you through the whole process of selling printables from start to finish, including validating your product idea to make sure it's in demand, creating your printable products in Canva, and uploading them to sell on Etsy. I'm also going to be taking the parts that tend to be the most confusing and intimidating for beginners, things like getting the right size, aspect ratio, and resolution, and making it as simple and easy to understand as possible. Let's jump in. All right, so step number 1 is to validate your product idea. You may have an idea for a printable product that you think is amazing, but before just jumping in to start creating it, it's really important to do a step before that, which is to research and validate that this product type is actually in demand and being purchased consistently online. So my favorite way to do validation research is on Etsy. So the first thing I do is to come on Etsy and start typing in a keyword phrase that describes what I'm thinking of offering. If I start typing printable, I can see Etsy's predictive suggested phrases coming up with different keyword phrases that are consistently searched on the platform. This is a great place to start to give me some ideas. But if I already know something more specific that I'm wanting to create, let's say printable wall art, I can type that in. And because I have a few tools here like Everbee and Seal Samurai installed as Chrome extensions, I can see the estimated monthly search volume for different related keyword phrases. I can see here that the term printable wall art has pretty high monthly search volume. So I'll go ahead and click on this and see the results that come up. Now, once I'm here on my results page for printable wall art, I can click over to my Everbee Chrome extension on the side here and click on Product Analytics, which will let me analyze the different listings that have come up for that keyword phrase. So I can search by estimated monthly revenue, and I can see here that there are several listings that have used that keyword phrase printable wall art that are making thousands of dollars each month. This is a really good clue for me that this validates my idea that printable wall art actually sells really well on Etsy. If I wanted to go a step further, I could start clicking on these individual listings to look at what styles I'm seeing used over and over again and trying to identify some different color schemes or font styles or graphic element types that are selling really well among these top ranking listings. A few other places I like to do this sort of style and trend research is on Pinterest Predicts, Pinterest Trends, and looking at the Etsy Marketplace Insights reports. This not only validates the idea that I had and that it actually is in demand, but it also helps me know what style to offer my printable products in to make sure that they have bestseller potential. Now, if you're interested in learning more about how to start a digital products business and do this kind of validation research, I have a 45-minute free masterclass that I think will be super helpful for you. It's called Digital Product Powerhouse, and it's for those who are wanting to start from the ground up with a digital products business and just need a hand to know how to start, or maybe you already have a digital products business and just need to know how to level up your sales to make consistent revenue. Then this free class is going to be for you. You can watch it on demand, so I have that linked below, so you can click over and grab your seat to watch that right after you get done watching this video. Now, the last thing I do to validate my product idea is to come back to my results page when I typed in printable wall art and take a look at the results that come up on the first and second pages of listings. And I'm looking specifically at the top left corner of the thumbnails to see how many have this little bestseller badge. The bestseller badge tells me that that listing is selling consistently and has a high volume of sales over the last 6 months. So this is a good clue if there are a lot of listings that say bestseller, that this niche is selling really well and printable wall art is popular on Etsy right now. I can see as I scroll down that there are several with the bestseller badge, which gives me even more confidence that this is a great product idea. So once you've validated your product idea, then it's time to move on to step number 2, which is to create your printable. There are a lot of different graphic design programs out there that you could use to create printable products, but my favorite and the one that I think is easiest to start with is Canva. Canva is a super easy to use and free design platform that has an amazing user interface that's really easy to get used to quick for those who are just starting out, but that has so many amazing features as you level up and get more advanced. So you really can use Canva to create your printables, whether you're a complete beginner or an old pro. Now, Canva does have a free plan, which you can totally use for your business as long as you need, but they also offer a paid pro version, which gives you access to some upgraded features and content. I have a free 30-day trial for Canva Pro linked in the description box below if you've been using free, or maybe maybe you've never even used Canva before and are interested to see what you could do with Canva Pro, then you can definitely try it out for free for 30 days and see if it might be the right fit for your business. The thing I love about Canva Pro is that if you decide to upgrade, it's still very budget friendly and comes out to just about $10 a month when you pay annually, which I think is an amazing deal for everything you get with Canva Pro. But either way, you can start with free, so let's go ahead and hop in and look at how to create these printables. So when we come to Canva, we want to make sure to start the right way by creating our design in the right size from the very beginning. So we can come up to create a design. And let's say we wanted to offer a folded invitation. We could just type in folded card, and Canva already has preset sizes for us depending on what size we want our folded card to be. Or we can come down to custom size and create a project in a custom size. Now, one thing that has a few more steps involved is if you wanted to offer printable wall art. Offering printable wall art is a little more involved because you might want to be offering several different sizes, as people would want to be printing their wall art out in whatever size they need framed. You could have a piece of wall art that is a 5x7, or you could have a really large piece of wall art that's a 24x36. So when you're selling these types of files online specifically for printable wall art, you want to make sure to get your sizing right and offer various different aspect ratios. So here's a sizing chart that I like to refer back to. This is part of my digital product starter guide, and this will show you what sizes work with specific different aspect ratios. So when we're talking about aspect ratios, we're considering the ratio from the length to the width of the file. So there are different aspect ratios that you can create your files in, and lots of different sizes for each one, so that the buyer can use a specific ratio file to print out multiple different actual physical sizes of the file. So here on our sizing chart, we can see that a 1-to-1 ratio is going to be a square. It's the same on the length as it is on the width. So we could do, for example, an 8x8, a 10x10, a 12x12, and so on. Then we can see our 2x3 ratio file can be printed out as a 4x6, a 6x9, an 8x12, 10x15, and so on. There are a lot of different sizes under this one. There are several different sizes under the 3-to-4 ratio and the 4-to-5 ratio. And then we've got one that's a little bit different that doesn't fit into any of those other ratios, which is a common size of 11x14 inches. And we've got our international sizes here. So if a buyer wanted to print out a 24x36 inch poster size, they would need to have a 2-to-3 ratio size file. If they have the 2-to-3 ratio size file, that means they can print out any of these sizes. So they could print out that large 24x36, but they could use that same file actually to print out a smaller 4x6 because they're both a 2-to-3 ratio. So when we're offering printable wall art, it's great to offer a variety or a bundle of different ratios so that your buyer can have lots of choices of different sizes they would want to print out. Thankfully, this means you don't have to offer a file for every single different size. You just need to offer one file for each common ratio. So we'd end up having one file each for each of the ratios. In this case, if we chose just to offer the main ratios and not the international size ratios, we would have one for the 1-to-1 ratio, one file for the 2-to-3 ratio, one file for the 3-to-4 ratio, one file for 4-to-5, and one file for the 11x14. Now there are some other aspect ratio sizes out there, so you could go as far with this as you want, but these are just the standard and most common ones that you'll see on printable wall art listings. So it's really important when you're going to create your project in Canva to start your project in the right file size so you're not having to adjust it later. If you start it in the right size, you'll be setting yourself up for success. So if we want to say offer some printable wall art with one file of each of the aspect ratios, I recommend that you start your project in the largest size so that it can be easily scaled down. Digital files are more easily scaled down than they are up. So if you were to provide a small file size for your buyer and they wanted to scale it up to say a poster or a yard sign size, it might start appearing grainy and pixelated, which we don't want. So it's best to offer them the larger size so that they don't run into any trouble and they can easily just scale down if they need something smaller. So let's go ahead for this example and start our Canva project as the largest size, which is under the 2-to-3 ratio. It's a 24x36 inch. So we can come back to Canva, go to create a design, and we can come to custom size where we've typed in what we want, 24x36 inch. Now we can always change this to work in pixels, millimeters, or centimeters, but for now now. Let's keep it in inches and click create new design. Now, before I go any further, I know you could probably use that size chart that we've been looking at. So that is part of my free digital product starter guide that I have linked below in the description. That guide includes not only the size and aspect ratios chart, but a whole several pages on how to start with digital products, including different file types, what programs to use, and pretty much everything you need to know to get started. So definitely go ahead and check that link after you watch this video to grab your free guide. So once you've created your project in the correct size, then the next step is to decide what elements, what fonts, what you actually want to include in your design. So you can source these types of graphic elements from a lot of different places. There are some that are already part of the Canva content library, so you can use those, just making sure that you look to see if it's a free or a pro element. You can tell the difference because pro elements will have that little crown symbol in the bottom corner, indicating that that's a pro piece of content, and you need to abide by Canva's pro content license when you're using that in products to sell, as opposed to Canva's free content license. There are two different licenses, so you just need to make sure, depending on what content you're using, that you're abiding by the terms of that specific license. Now, if you're not wanting to use the elements that are part of Canva, you can also source them from a third-party website, purchase licensed assets or graphic elements, and upload them to bring them in and use them inside of Canva. My favorite websites to get these kind of graphic elements are Creative Fabrica, Creative Market, and Etsy itself. So for example, let's say you come to Creative Fabrica and you know you want to create some printable wall art with these really minimalist line art drawings. You could type in line art into the search bar and find something like this that you might want to purchase. This is a package of really beautiful line art drawings that you could use for printable products. So you could purchase this and download it to use, but you want to make sure that it includes a commercial license and make sure to read the terms of that license so you know how you're allowed to use this in specific different types of digital products. Each website or seller is going to have their own license, so you just need to make sure to read the terms for the specific element or package that you're purchasing to make sure that you're able to use it in the right way. One reason I love Creative Fabrica specifically is because their licensing terms are generous and really easy to read and understand. So for this instance, I would download this and then I would come back over to Canva, click on upload files, and then I would click to upload those line art drawings that I just downloaded from the other website to bring them into Canva. Once they're uploaded into Canva, I can then click to use them in my design. I do have affiliate links for all of those websites that I mentioned, and several of them give you a free trial, so I have all of those linked below as well in case you're interested in checking those out. Okay, so let's say I've created my piece of wall art here, and remember, this is my 24 by 36 inch canvas. So I'm going to resize this into my different sizes, but first I want to come up here to the top right corner and make sure that I title this whatever I want the title of this file to be. So I might say great day, and remember this is our 2:3 ratio, so I might say 2:3. All right, so my next step once I have it created is to come up and resize it into all of the different sizes or aspect ratio files that I want to offer. So I'm going to come back to my size chart and look at the different ratios. We've got our 2:3 ratio. So now I want to create a 3:4 ratio file, a 4:5 ratio file, and then my 11 by 14. So remember, I'm offering the largest size under each of these ratios. So the largest size under the 3:4 ratio is my 18 by 24 inch. And then the largest size under the 4:5 ratio is the 16 by 20 inch. So I know the next three sizes I need to create would be 18 by 24, 16 by 20, and 11 by 14. So one really cool Canva Pro feature that I love is the ability to resize with this button that says Magic Switch up in the top left. So if I click on Magic Switch, I can resize this very easily by coming down to Custom Size and then typing in the sizes that I'd like to create next. So I know I want an 18 by 24 and a 16 by 20 and also an 11 by 14. So now I've got all of those three sizes checked. I can click Continue, and then I'm going to click Resize to 3 designs. I can open my designs now, and it'll give me a new tab for each of my new size designs. So I can see here if I'm opening up one of the new designs, up in the title, it'll have in parentheses what the new size is. So this is my 18 by 24 inch canvas. I can click over to the next tab, which gives me my 16 by 20 inch canvas. And then I can see the third tab, which is my 11 by 14 inch canvas. So the next step after resizing is to go through and edit these to make some slight changes since they are on a different size canvas and the elements and fonts themselves haven't changed. I may need to readjust these a little bit, resize them to make them look right on that specific size project. perfect. It shouldn't really take a lot of adjustment, but just a little bit for each one to make sure that they are sized and positioned correctly. I would also want to go through and edit the titles. So instead of saying 2:3, I'm going to say this is my 3:4 aspect ratio. My 16:20 is going to be my 4:5. And then on the 11:14, since that one doesn't really fit into a common aspect ratio, I can just put 11:14. So now I've got all the titles correct for the different size files I have, and I can now download each one. So to download from Canva, I'm going to come up to the top right where it says share and click download. And here Canva gives me the option to choose from a lot of different file types. I will say for printable wall art on Etsy, the most common file types I'm going to be looking at are JPEG, PNG, and PDF. Now Canva gives me the option for PDF standard or PDF print. So for printables, I always want to choose PDF print because that's going to give me a better quality resolution. Now I can always look at similar listings on Etsy to see what is working well for other sellers to narrow this down and figure out exactly which of these file types I want. Maybe I want to offer just one type of file. Maybe I want to offer a bundle with several different types. It's totally up to you, but this is where you would choose the type that you want. So let's say I want to offer this as a PDF print. I want to choose that. And then I would go through these other download settings and click download. I would then want to go through each of my different sizes and download each one separately. So I'm ending up with 4 different files. Now I know you caught when I said resolution. You may be wondering, what in the world is resolution? Well, resolution speaks to the quality of a printed out product. The higher resolution the file has, the more quality it will appear. And likewise, the lower the resolution, the more grainy or pixelated it might appear once it's printed. Now it's a little tricky to tell because it has to do with what the file looks like when it's a physical, tangible item. So the industry standard for printable products in terms of resolution is 300 dpi. DPI stands for dots per inch. A lot of times this is interchangeable with PPI, which is pixels per inch. So whether we're working with pixels or dots making up our image, this is literally referring to how many little pieces of color is going to be in each physical inch of the actual physical printed out product. So again, the higher the DPI, the higher the resolution, the more quality your printed out product is going to be. So with printables, we want a minimum of 300 DPI. So let's go back on Canva when we go to our download options. Like I mentioned before, PDF print is the only one that defaults to downloading with 300 DPI automatically. So if you choose PDF print, you're good to go. But if you choose something like a JPEG file or a PNG from Canva, that automatically defaults to a resolution of 96 DPI. Now, the cool thing is if you have Canva Pro, you can use these size and quality sliders to take all the way to the right to increase the size and quality, which will then allow it to download at 300 DPI. Now, if you're on the Canva free plan and you don't have access to use these size and quality sliders, you can do sort of a workaround, which is to download your file as a PDF print that automatically gives you 300 DPI resolution, and then bring your downloaded PDF into a third-party converter like Cloud Convert. With a tool like Cloud Convert, you can convert from one type of file to another. So you would select here, convert from PDF to whatever file type you want. Let's say you want a PNG. So then you would select your file that you had just downloaded from Canva. Remember, it already has 300 DPI. You just need it to be a different file type. You want it to be a PNG file. So you could select that PDF file to upload it to Cloud Convert, fill in your different options here, making sure that you have at least 300 here in the pixel density option. This is referring to your 300 DPI resolution. And you can convert it easily to a PNG, which then would give you a high resolution 300 DPI PNG file. Now, just a quick note to stay organized, which is going to make it so much easier for you when it comes time to upload to your listing, is to actually create a folder for each different print or product that you have. So I've created a folder here that's titled It's a Great Day. That's going to be the name of my print. And inside my folder is where I've saved each of my downloads from Canva from the different size files. So I've got each of my different ones. I've got the 2:3 ratio, the 3:4 ratio, the 4:5 ratio, and my 11:14. And also in this folder is where I can save my README or instructional file that I'm going to provide for my buyers. So here's an example of an instructional file that I would want to create as well. I can do this easily on Canva where I'm just going to give my buyer instructions for printing and for the different ratio files so they understand what they're receiving and how to actually print it out on their own. So this is a template that's included in my digital products with Canva course that my students receive, but this is just an example example. So you would want to put your branding in there, and then you want a section that's talking about what they're actually receiving. You give the name of the file, the different ratios that you're providing, and then you can put in parentheses something like, use this file to print these sizes. And then you list all of the sizes from your sizing chart that go along with each one. So they know if I want a 12 by 16, I need to give my printer the 3:4 ratio file. If I want to print a 16 by 20, that means I'm going to have to use the 4:5 ratio file. So hopefully at that point they understand they cannot use, let's say, the 2:3 ratio file to print a 16 by 20. A lot of people are not going to already understand this and are relatively new to using printables. So it's great to provide this sort of document for them, just explaining how it works, what they're receiving as their files, and how to get started. You can even include things like a tutorial video walking them through the different steps to use the files, or any marketing extras if you want to give your social media links, things like that. Those are all great things as well to add to your instructional PDF. I'm going to title this README so that when the buyer receives this, they will read this first before even diving into their files. I'm going to download this again from Canva as a PDF. Now, this is not really intended to be printed out. This is just a PDF document that's going with the files when they purchase to give them instructions. So it's okay for this one to just do PDF standard, and I'm going to click to download. So now here, if I open my folder again, I've got my README file along with each of my printable files. Now that we've got our printable files and our instructional file created, it's time to move on to step number 3, which is to create your listing on Etsy. So when you come to add a new listing on Etsy, it's going to ask you if it's a physical item or a digital file. So we're going to select digital file, and we'll continue going through and answering the questions here. So who made it? I did. What is it? A finished product. And then when was it made? So here under when was it made, you want to select the year that you made it. This will allow you to then upload your files to the listing as an instant download for your buyer. So I'm going to select the year that I made the files, click continue. And here I've got all the rest of the different fields for the listing that I need to fill out. I don't have time in this video to go through each of these different fields, but I want to point out a few key areas for your printables listing, which first of all is this digital file section. So where it says digital files is where you're actually going to then click to upload your printable files that the buyer is going to receive. So I would click to add a file, navigate to where I've saved my different size files in my instructional file, and select all of them and click open. And there I've uploaded all 4 of my printables files as well as my README file, which is what the buyer will instantly receive as downloads when they purchase this listing. Now on Etsy, you can add up to 5 files. So I do have 5 here. I wouldn't be able to add any extras. So if I had more than this, or if I had any files that were larger than Etsy's limit, which is 20 megabytes per file, then I would need to use a bit of a workaround. Instead of individually uploading each of these files, I could upload them as a zip folder, or I could upload them with a Google Drive link. So let's say I want to upload them as a zip folder. I could navigate to the folder that is where all of my files are saved, and then right click on the folder, click compress, and that automatically gives me a zip folder. So this zip folder is basically housing all of my files that were inside of this normal folder, but a zip folder compresses everything to transport it. So then what the buyer would receive when they purchase is this actual zip folder. So then here under the digital file section, instead of uploading all the files individually, I could go find my zip folder. So I know this is it because it says It's a Great Day, which is the name of my folder, .zip. I'm going to choose that. And there it's got my folder uploaded to the listing. So now instead of the individual files, the buyer would receive this zip folder and be able to click to unpack it and get access to everything inside of that folder. So that's the second uploading option. And the third option would be to use a Google Drive link or a Dropbox link. So the basic process of this is to upload all of my files that are my printables and my instructional file to whichever platform I'd like to use. Google Drive or Dropbox are 2 really popular ones. But then after I've got everything uploaded there, I'm going to grab my link for the folder either on Google Drive or Dropbox and embed that shareable link here on my instructional file. So if you remember our README file here, I had a steps to get started section. So here you would just put as your step number 1, something like click here to access the Google Drive folder and select the file you'd like to use. Then on Canva, it's easy to just select the little text where you said click here, click the little link button, and then you would copy and paste in your URL for the Google Drive or Dropbox folder here to embed that link. So that way, when your buyer purchases and they open this README file, they'll actually be able to click the text where you said click here, and it'll automatically take them over to that Google Drive or Dropbox folder where they can then access the files. Once you have that edited and created inside of Canva, of course, you would come again to download this README file as the PDF standard like we talked about, and then that's what you would upload to your Etsy listing. So add file, you would just need to upload your one README document, and this is the only deliverable that the buyer receives so that they would open this and click through to get access to the actual files from Google Drive or Dropbox. Now that's the main part I wanted to show you on this Etsy listing, but you also want to make sure to add in your photos section some really good quality mock-up images, and you'd want to do a little bit of keyword research for your title, your tag section, your description to make sure to optimize your listing the best you can to make sure it has the best potential to be found and to sell on the Etsy platform. So there you go, friends. I hope that was helpful in terms of getting you started with your printables business. I know it was a lot of information, so feel free to go back to pause as you work through it and reference this video again as you're going through creating and listing your products. Don't forget to click the links in the description box below to grab your free digital product starter guide to have that size and aspect ratio chart to refer back to. And also click the link below for Digital Product Powerhouse, which is my free 45-minute masterclass that's going to walk you through my proven 4-step system for starting and growing a profitable digital products business. Happy selling, friends!